long overdue. Today we open the hearings of our independent rape gang inquiry.
Rupert Lowe's crowdfunded independent inquiry has uncovered harrowing testimonies. We'll be looking at some of those findings tonight. And
the President and the Trump administration have been very clear. If you are in the country illegally, you are subject to deportation.
Interesting stuff. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood is using some visa tactics used by Donald Trump's administration. She's using them to clamp down on illegal migration. Is it a welcome move or a little bit too late? And
sunbathe until the sunset, and then we'll go for a nice few cocktails along the seafront. There's loads of lovely places in Brighton.
Well, that could be your GP, for better or worse. Yes, if new government plans come off, doctors won't just need a scrubs and a stethoscope at home. They're going to need their goggles and a suntan lotion. But how do you feel about getting diagnosed by a doctor sunning him or herself in Australia? And I've got a big panel tonight. Joining me this evening, journalist Jag Hadfield, senior reporter Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley, and journalist and broadcaster and long-time rival of mine, Benjamin Butterworth. Have you heard of the Crewkerne Gazette? Well, they're at it again. That is absolutely brilliant. A huge 2 hours coming up. Your Saturday evening is just getting started. But first, let's get your news with Sophia Wensler.
Alex, thank you and good evening. These are your headlines at 9:02. It's being reported that David Lammy had warned Sir Keir Starmer against appointing Lord Mandelson as the ambassador to the US. According to the Telegraph newspaper, the Deputy Prime Minister has let it be known that he had not been in favour of bringing him back into government over his links to Jeffrey Epstein. It comes as former Prime Minister Gordon Brown has said Peter Mandelson committed a betrayal of his country by allegedly leaking government secrets to Jeffrey Epstein and putting Britain at risk. Peter Mandelson is accused of sending market-sensitive government information to paedophile Epstein while he was the business secretary during the financial crisis. Brown, who was Prime Minister at the time, says he deeply regrets bringing him into government. The Metropolitan Police, meanwhile, say the criminal investigation into the allegations against Mandelson is complex. The force has concluded their search of 2 of his properties in London and Wiltshire and says that a significant amount of further evidence gathering and analysis is required. Mandelson denies any wrongdoing. A 15-year-old boy has been remanded into custody after appearing in court charged with the attempted murder of a teacher at a school in West Wales. The school pupil allegedly attacked the female teacher with a kitchen knife after asking for help with work at Milford Haven Comprehensive School on Thursday afternoon. He was charged with attempted murder, grievous bodily harm and possession of a bladed article on education premises. In other news, the NHS is hiring foreign GPs to treat patients virtually from abroad, according to reports in The Telegraph. It's understood doctors are being hired who are based in countries including Australia, India and Malaysia as part of the NHS's 10-year plan to free up GPs. It means patients will be treated by their doctor over a computer screen or on the phone. It comes after a report back in December revealed that the UK has twice as many foreign doctors and nurses as the Western average. Much of England and Wales are at risk of flooding after it's rained every day of this year so far. South West England and South Wales have seen 50% more rainfall than usual for this time of year. The Environment Agency has issued dozens of flood warnings, mostly scattered across the south and the southwest of England and the Midlands. And England have started the Six Nations off with a bang, beating Wales 48-7 in their opening match at Allianz Stadium. Arundel celebrated his first Test start since the 2023 World Cup by running in 3 first-half tries, and there were also touchdowns for Ben Earl, Toe Roebuck and Tommy Freeman, as well as a penalty try. Those are the latest GB News headlines. I'll have more for you in an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Eid rapes. That is one of the shocking allegations coming out of Rupert Lowe's independent inquiry into the rape gangs that have stretched across Britain. It was launched just this week.
Today marks the beginning of something long overdue. Today we open the hearings of our independent rape gang inquiry. 2 full weeks of evidence, testimony and scrutiny. 2 weeks in which survivors will finally be heard.
The crowd-funded inquiry, backed by £600,000 from 20,000 ordinary Brits sick of the cover-ups, has just heard testimony that should make every decent person in this country feel rage. Survivor Fiona Goodard spoke of her experience.
There was a phone call once where she tried reporting me missing and she said I was being picked up by Asian men and I was being abused. Now the call handler said back to her, you can't describe them as Asian men because that's racist. You should just be glad your child is being taught a different culture.
Well, she didn't mince her words, and she claims that gangs of predominantly second-generation Pakistani men and other mostly immigrant men targeted vulnerable, white, working-class girls. Here is a damning direct quote from rape gang survivor, that same one there, Fiona Goddard at Rupert Lowe's rape gang inquiry. She said this: some Pakistani men celebrated the Islamic festival of Eid by raping young, white girls. Yes, you heard that correctly. Eid rapes, a religious holiday twisted into an excuse for barbaric sexual violence against British children. Marilyn Horne, CEO of Freedom from Abuse, said, "I've been called racist, I've been called all sorts of things. I don't care because I know I'm right. They are not interested in protecting our women, girls and boys because they quite like it in this country." She went further. Some of these girls have been taken from pillar to post, raped in lay-bys on filthy mattresses, in hotels, you know, backs of taxis. This is across the country. It is endemic. It is everywhere. These are not animals. They're monstrous, barbaric, evil, vile men, and they have got no moral compass. None. That is damning, isn't it? There is no shadow of a doubt that this remains the biggest child abuse scandal in British history. Perhaps, realistically, the biggest scandal in British history. We must never, ever allow the guise of multiculturalism, the charade of it all, to ignore an epidemic like this in our country ever again. I hope, at the bare minimum, private prosecutions can be funded to take place so these survivors finally get the justice they deserve and that those sick criminals pay for the hell they've unleashed on this country. And for those in power that have allegedly covered this up, there must be a hell of a price to pay for their betrayal of our children. I've got a fantastic panel here with me tonight. Journalist Jack Hadfield's here, senior reporter Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley, journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth, and director of civic engagement and senior correspondent for Logical Politics, Khadija Brown, is also joining me in the studio. Jack, you've covered a lot of protests on this issue, so I'll start with you. What's the sense on the ground for people across Britain now? Because there's a lot of protests against illegal migrants. Of course, this is a separate issue, but there's a big connection, isn't there? There's a feeling that people aren't being listened to time and time again. They're being called racist, they're being called whatever ism to shut them up. What's the feeling from people you speak to?
Yes, I mean, for those who speak to, obviously most of them have been protesting about the migrant hotels. But you know, as you said, this is all linked together. You know, all of this is a problem with mass migration, and it's not just people who've come from the vote. So you said lots of these were second-generation Pakistani men. So you know, and I've been reading some of the testimonies from the survivors. One of them said, you know, that they wanted to take her back to Pakistan to meet their families, and there's only able to get away with that because she didn't have a passport. How many young girls have been trafficked, not just in our own towns and cities, but have been trafficked halfway across the world, never to be seen again? We just don't know the sheer scale of this, and I think that's what has people really concerned. There have been obviously multiple cases where people have been actually prosecuted and put in prison for this, but we still don't know, just how bad this has been. So that's why this inquiry has been so valuable to begin with.
Ellie, why is it quicker for someone like Rupert Lowe to launch an independent inquiry than the entire mechanisms of a bit of a £1 trillion government that could really make this happen tomorrow if they wanted to?
Rupert Lowe has totally put this Labour government to shame. I mean, this government didn't actually want an inquiry in the first place. The only thing that it's really succeeded in doing is actually upset victims. Let's not forget 4 of the victims quit the inquiry panel because they felt they weren't being listened to by so-called safeguarding minister Jess Phillips. So I think, if anything, this government should be listening to Rupert Lowe and these absolutely gutting and awful, appalling testimonies from these poor victims and going, actually, we need to do something about this properly, because at the moment, it doesn't seem like they're actually taking it that seriously. The Home Office has said, we are doing everything in our power to make sure this doesn't happen again. But what about bringing the guilty to justice? They don't seem to be focusing on that.
Yeah. Khadija, if you don't mind me saying, you're quite an outspoken Muslim woman, right? You're very outspoken. There's a big charge against people here. And actually, one of the reasons why I love people like you is you're a dissenting voice. You're a voice that people can look to and say, actually, this is not something that everyone believes in from the Muslim community. And I want to highlight more of that on our channel, on our show. How do you feel this has impacted people across Britain? Do you feel that there is a rage building? And what kind of reception do you get? Because you're quite patriotic and proud, aren't you?
I totally am patriotic and proud, and I feel very disappointed as a Muslim woman that not many Muslim people are speaking about this, and many of the Muslims are afraid to speak about this. I know that the majority of Muslims do not agree with what is happening, and they should condemn it, and there should be more investigation. But the thing is, most of the Muslim communities are very tribalist, and they follow the leaders, and we have tons and tons of Muslim MPs and mayors that are disregarding the whole situation, ignoring it. Especially London Mayor has ignored it over and over again. They could have used their platforms to create awareness, to condemn such behaviour, and call out the culprits from within, because many Muslims are very legally abiding citizens and they are very pro-Britain, but when the leaders are culprits, what do you expect them to do? They will stay quiet, and this is something that I am very vocal about. In order for us to have a very strong unity, we need to call out the culprits from within, and this is where Muslims needs to come in. They need to call out the rape gangs, whether they're family or friends or imams in the mosque. They need to be called out. Enough covering up. If you want Islam to seem to be the religion of peace that is supposed to be, Muslims need to fix up and need to speak up against the culprits. Covering it up and burying your head in the sand ain't going to change nothing. But I'll tell you what will: accountability.
Benjamin, that word accountability is very important, because it has been the thing that is lacking for so long on this issue. Survivors constantly, throw the allegation of cover-ups. Even the Prime Minister in his report says that these things were not looked into because of fears of racism within the structures of government. Do you think enough has been done to break down those barriers and reverse the damage that this liberalism, this dangerous form of liberalism has had inside institutions in Britain?
Well, I think the answer to that can only be no, because we're aware that there continues to be a problem. I think accountability is exactly the word I was thinking of, because the reason that these men were able to get away with this in these communities is because the people whose job it is to hold them accountable, police, local councils, they failed over and over again. So clearly there has been a problem in the Pakistani elements of these communities abusing that power because they were able to abuse it. And this doesn't denigrate that at all, but it is not unique to that. We have spent the week with ever more examples of the horrors in the Epstein files, and there is a similar thread, which is that vulnerable women were able to be abused because the people who should hold those paedophiles and perverts to account chose not to. And that's why I think that is the lesson that should be taken from both of these stories.
Jack, is this a failure of the entire political class? Because, you know, I want to be fair about this. The Conservatives had 14 years in power to have a national rape gang inquiry, and they didn't have one. And now they're very vocal about having one, which I welcome, because I think we need as many voices as possible to call for this and to keep the pressure on the government to do it. But is it a failure of all colours?
Yeah, I think it is. Obviously, as you mentioned, the Conservatives did nothing, you know, on this in their 14 years of government. But I will say, I think more of the failure is with Labour institutionally. As we know, some of the councillors in these northern towns where these rape gangs happened, Labour councillors, you know, either knew about it or involved in the cover-up, which is why I think, you know, this national inquiry is certainly a good start. But we need something far bigger than this. We need, you know, an inquiry that has both investigative and prosecutorial powers, because obviously councillors either knew about it or were involved, people in the mosque were involved, and the police were involved. So, you know, if we actually want to truly get justice for these people, you know, it has to be done by a completely new body that's apart from the system. Because, you know, are we really going to trust the police who were involved in this? And again, comments that we've heard from rape gang survivors said that they laughed at girls or they arrested the girls instead of the groomers themselves. So yeah, we need something that is separate from the old institutions in order to completely clean house and get justice, and for not just those who did the grooming gang themselves, but those who knew about it and were culpable and covered it up.
Yeah, Ellie, a comment here from GBNews. You'll say, El Sajay says, "Stop it happening again?" ? It's still happening now.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? This is the problem.
And also, it's not just in the northern region as well, in the Midlands, in London as well. You know, 9,000 cases have been reopened into grooming gang scandals, and the Met Police Commissioner, Mark Rowley, was saying last year there's no serious problem. Sadiq Khan is still saying, well, what do you mean by a grooming gang? They're burying their head in the sand. It's absolutely horrific, and we need to hold them to account, as we were saying earlier.
Khadija, they're using clever language, politicians, to get out of addressing the situation. Do you think there's something in actually more people just going, do you know what, we're not going to stop talking about this and we're going to use plain English to describe it? We use plain English here at GB News to discuss this topic. We call them rape gangs because that's exactly what they are. Many places want to censor that language because they think it's too difficult to hear. But actually, it's the truth, and that's what hasn't been spoken about for so long.
Yes, of course it's the truth, and this is why I do my nut when it comes to London Mayor. He has the potential to really change the whole situation and bring many culprits to hold them accountability and bring them to law, and he doesn't. Instead, he's playing these games with words, and I can't help but think, what is he protecting? Because as far as I'm concerned, a man who keeps talking about Islam and crying Islamophobia at every given opportunity is not really defending Islam, because his silence is not absolving him from responsibility. He is a man who is aware of what's happening. He has a massive platform. He could be calling those out, and he could, with his influence, get all the imams of all the mosques to gather together to make their own little police or little inquiries to stop this from happening. Because let's face it, as a Muslim woman, I know it happens, and it happens over and over again. And I'm not going to sit down and lie to myself and say, no, they are anti-Muslims and they're just hating on Islam. It's a serious situation, and children are being hurt over and over again. And I personally do believe that my religion is a religion of peace, but those mayors and MPs and leaders that represent that Islam sure as hell make it seem to be one heck of a cult that protects the predators. It's time we take accountability. It's time those mayors and MPs either stand up and say, I will protect those little children, or, you know what, back down. We don't need you. We can get people who are accountable.
Benjamin, just this charge against Labour here, because this is, I hear this often, that it's Labour who is the most culpable political party for this entire epidemic. What would you say to that?
Well, the Tories had a form of investigation which I think brought 20 suggestions, and not one of them was acted on. And who was the Women and Equalities Minister responsible for acting on them? Kemi Badenoch. And so I think, to some extent, playing politics with it is exactly what the victims have asked not to do. I think in London, you'd hope that Mark Rowley, who I think seems like quite a capable, decent head of the Metropolitan Police, would take any claims seriously. But, of course, the Met Police itself has had institutional problems with sexual abuse. But this isn't to undermine any of the points made. But the avoidance of dealing with sexual abuse and predators is about power and accountability. And while that has evidently failed there are men in the media who are total perverts, who everyone knows they're perverts, who do it all the time, and people look the other way. It exists in all walks of life, and people should ask themselves why they look the other way. It is not unique to this example.
All right, well, listen, I've got a right to reply here. A spokesperson for the Mayor of London told GB News it is not a cover-up, and instead, Sadiq has consistently been clear to the Met that no stone must be left unturned in pursuing justice for the victims of grooming gangs and ensuring the vile perpetrators are brought to justice. A Home Office spokesperson also said the abuse of children by grooming gangs is one of the most horrific crimes imaginable. We will do everything in our power to ensure these crimes never happen again. All right, well, look, we've got a Great British giveaway now. It's £10,000 for a luxury holiday for two, and we're also giving you 30 grand in tax-free cash. Here's Hayley Sparks.
You could win cash and the ultimate holiday in our two-part Great British giveaway. Thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for two people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll get to choose the kind of holiday you want. So whether you're looking for hotel comfort or on a relaxing river cruise, you'll be able to find the perfect match from over 30 global destinations on offer. And because the holiday is handpicked with you in mind, you know it's going to be perfect. Plus, we're going to give you £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Your summer can start here, so make sure you don't miss out.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming up here, well, he's called the Banksy of politics by his fans. We'll be talking exclusively to the brains behind the Crewkerne Gazette, but next.
Sunbathe until the sunset, and then we'll go for a nice few cocktails along the seafront. There's loads of lovely places in Brighton.
You know, if doctors are going to the beach, this is my pitch to my boss. Send me to the beach as well. I'll do my show live from the beach. How about that? Well, we'll see you after the break. Maybe have a suntan.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, the NHS is hiring GPs who will work literally from the beach and treat patients virtually while living overseas. Under a new pilot run by a private company, doctors can clock into work from places like Australia, India and Malaysia, holding consultations by phone or video while thousands of miles away. Health bosses say it will boost productivity. Critics say it looks like a lot of offshoring healthcare. So should GPs be allowed to work from the beach? We're now joined by UK Country Associate of the Consumer Choice Centre, Mike Asylum, and former Health Minister Maria Caulfield. Maria, I'll start with you. It seems to me that the NHS will do everything but put money into training doctors and nurses in this country, despite the fact we have thousands of kids who are turned away every year.
Yeah, so I've got huge concerns about this, and you're right, but there is actually capacity for having extra GPs. We know that about 66% of trainee GPs in their final year are looking for work, and when they're qualified, 4 in 10 newly qualified GPs can't get a job. So there are GPs out there looking for work, and this seems to be a bit of a gimmick and a bit of a cheaper alternative that won't necessarily provide the quality of care that patients really need.
Yeah, Mike Salem, I understand that we're in a changing world where people want flexibility, but there's already concerns that these virtual GP appointments are missing critical health conditions because patients are rushing through them, GPs aren't able to see the patient properly. Is this just going to exasperate it even more?
Yeah, I think the real issue is that we haven't got enough supply of GPs, and I think Maria's right on that, and there's capacity to increase more GPs. And the solution for that should be we should maximize that by whatever means. And if we can reduce people having to go to A&E through getting more online consultations, then so be it. I think you're a bit cheeky with your question saying that the GPs would be from the beach themselves. I accept that remote work is a bit different from in person, but nonetheless, I think it's important for us to increase the supply and make sure that we are avoiding the burden on the A&E by facilitating more consultations, whether it's online or in person.
Mike, if I may interrupt though, because it's not. It doesn't seem to me that this would solve an A&E issue. The people who go to A&E tend to not really, a lot of the time, waste a lot of time. Of course, the hospitals waste useful spaces, but they're not going to call up a virtual GP. They're going to call 999, or they're going to go and drive into an A&E. They're not going to think about, let me call my virtual doctor from Malaysia. That would require quite a massive public PR campaign in order to change that. Are we expecting to spend even more money doing that? Why can't we just train more doctors and nurses up?
No, I accept that, and we should definitely be doing that. But in terms of what we need to be done immediately, we are seeing waiting lists actually increasing despite of what West Streeting is saying. And I'm not particularly endorsing this current government measure on that. But what I'm saying is when people don't know where to go to, they usually call 999, and that adds a burden to A&E. Whether we like it or not, that's the sad reality. And what we actually do need to do is facilitate an increase in supply of A&E or GP facilitators who can actually provide sound advice to our patients. And the best way to do it is to actually rely on the advice and the expertise of the many people that are in the UK, but also globally. If I want to speak with a GP that has good experience abroad, why shouldn't I be entitled to it? I'm entitled to the best healthcare that I should be entitled to. So is everyone else in this country.
OK, Maria, what do you make of Mike's comments there?
Well, I'm just slightly concerned that, this is a bit of a tick box exercise, so the government can say, X, Y, and Z have seen a GP, but it's about the quality of the consultation as well. And, seeing your normal GP, whether that's virtually or face-to-face, someone who knows you, someone who's likely to see you again at your next appointment, has an idea of your medical history, will bring a better consultation. For someone, who's young, then this might be okay, but for people with multiple comorbidities, who have got complex needs, seeing the same GP, the same team is crucial. And what will happen, I fear, is that they'll tick the box to say they've been seen by a remote consultation by someone who's not even in the country, and then they will get either misdiagnosed or not a complete consultation, and then they'll either end up more poorly and in A&E and hospital, or they'll be coming back to knock on the door of their local GP without a resolution to their original complaint. So I think this is a way of saying that there's more GP capacity, but not actually addressing patients' needs, who should be the priority in all of this.
Yeah, Mike, this sounds a lot like privatisation, which is something that Labour, throw around to other parties very often. Is that what this is? A bit of privatisation in the health service?
Well, I think Labour would be very careful not to characterise it as such, but the reality is the NHS is a mess. It needs radical change. It is very unfit for the 21st century. And actually, I would personally welcome reforms to the NHS that enable less burden on the taxpayer and more access to paid services. I think, we live in a time where if, I should be entitled to get the best care of service. And if I had a child or a parent who is in dire need of medical condition, then I should be afforded any opportunity to take care of them. So we need to make sure that we get that quality of care that Maria was talking about. And I think that can only be achieved through these new measures and the means that we are introducing.
All right, well, listen, thank you both very much. That is UK Country Associate at the Consumer Choice Centre, Mike Salem, and former Health Minister Maria Caulfield. Thank you so much for joining me this evening to talk about this topic. Personally, I just think this will make people's health worse. I think people will choose to go to A&E over a virtual GP. That's my opinion. Anyway, look, an NHS spokesman said this. This is a pilot run by a private company, which is not endorsed by NHS England, and we have no plans to roll this out nationally. A Department of Health and Social Care spokesperson said our 10-year health plan is shifting healthcare from analogue to digital to make the NHS fit for the future. But GP practices should offer face-to-face appointments to those that want one. I'm a bit confused by that there. Anyway, coming up, as the Home Secretary starts a Trump-style visa clampdown on 3 African countries, is it decisive action or is it tinkering at the edges? But next.
I'm the bloke they call when the Tories go ha 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 ha. We don't like each other, but we hate some more.
You've probably seen these videos across social media. He's the man taking the social media platforms by storm as his hilarious videos skewer the egos of the Westminster elite. An interview with the brains behind the satire in the AI age is coming up next. This is Alex Armstrong, only on GB News.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Yet more wet and windy weather to come this weekend for Iberia, although Sunday at least is less wet for a brief period. There are also lots of showers affecting parts of Greece into Turkey. Italy dry at first on Sunday, but this next batch of rain and showers moves through, that bringing some heavy downpours to the Balearics. Drier for a time across Spain, Portugal and the Canary Islands, but more rain and wind on the way by early next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, there's more rain to come, especially across eastern Scotland tonight. Showers easing elsewhere, and that will allow a few mist and fog patches to start Sunday morning. So low pressure is still dominating our weather. The wind's coming up more from a south and southeasterly direction. So the rain across Northern Ireland, Northern England will continue to push its way northwards, coming into much of Scotland. We have a yellow Met Office rain warning in force again for eastern parts of Scotland, so could see some disruption and some flooding. To the south of that, any clear skies. We may even see some mist and fog patches across the southeast of England and across Northern Ireland. Otherwise, a generally frost-free, mild start to Sunday. But a wet Sunday to come across much of Scotland, even pushing into western areas. But most persistent rain, first thing, is going to be across eastern areas. Across Northern Ireland to start Sunday morning, quite murky with some low cloud, mist and fog. A similar picture for the rest of England and Wales. There could be some brightness just coming through first thing on Sunday. For Sunday as a whole, though, it does look to be generally drier than Saturday. There will be some breaks in the cloud to give it some glimpses of some sunshine, but otherwise later on in the afternoon we'll start to see showers progressing in from the west. So across Devon and Cornwall into Wales we'll see some heavy showers, possibly with some thunder, longer spells of rain persisting across Scotland. Otherwise, it's still generally rather mild, highs of up to 9 or 11 degrees. A messy picture as we go into Monday, a lot of cloud around, perhaps quite murky to start. Further spells of rain pushing their way northwards into Scotland, and then again, areas that do not need any more wet rainfall, it is going to be turning wet in the west, drier in the east with some sunshine. The unsettled theme is still here to stay, but perhaps temperatures just dropping later.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, producing videos at, well-executed videos, let's put it that way, at dizzying speed has seen the Crewkerne Gazette, the Banksy of politics to his fans, corner the market in producing satire for the AI age. Where else could you see Keir Starmer as a Dalek and Nigel Farage in furs DJing in a nightclub? His output is, well, it's relentless, isn't it? I see it all the time. Taking a look back to where it all started, here's how they skewered Angela Rayner when news of her tax affairs started to emerge.
Dharma blushing, I'm still fine. You pay full tax, I skip the line. Court orders hush, I don't explain. Still stuck in home, still playing the game. I pay less tax, but I laugh all day. Rayner style, that's the label way. How many homes can Rayner buy? Laughing at you with a tax they slide.
Well, there's also no let up for Keir Starmer and his current woes. Just look at this touching rendition they engineered this week.
Caught up in a world of betting climbing. The tears are in my mind, and nothing is rhyming. Oh, Mandy, well, you came and you lied without breaking, but I sent you away. Oh, Mandy.
It's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? Well, I'm delighted to say we're now joined from a wonderful medieval pub, Oscar's Wine Bar in Crewkerne, by Crewkerne men themselves. Hello, gentlemen. How are we doing?
Hello.
Lovely to have you on the show finally. Listen, I've got to say, I'm a huge fan of your work. I think it's absolutely hilarious. Now, how do you come up with the ideas, first of all?
Well, I think that often, it's speaking of the times, it's what's happening every single day in this country. And there's no end of material with this with this current government, right, with Keir Starmer and the endless scandals that are happening every single week. We're never out of material.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, to be honest with you. I'm not out of material very often either, gentlemen, I have to say that for sure. But you know, then there's the lyrics as well, right? These really funny lyrics that just wind it all together so beautifully. How do you do that bit? Is that a bit of a creative exercise between the two of you? Because you've got to pick a song sometimes, then you've got to find lyrics to write next to it. How do you come up with this? Is it all using AI, or do you have a little bit of your own influence in it too?
No, so all of the lyrics are done between us, and it's important that it's done between us because, of course, as you know, in the news business, the things that are happening within the political world are ever-changing. So when we've set to a set of lyrics, often we have to change them because something else has happened in between. We don't use AI for the lyrics. AI is just not that good to really to capture the comedy, to capture the moment. So the lyrics are totally human.
And a lot of the time, I've spent hours in evenings in the pub, literally penning lyrics out to make kind of Weird Al Yankovic-style parodies of songs, such as the one we did for formerly known as Prince Andrew, with the Pulp Common People. So that was one of the things that we sort of worked on together, and then that turned out quite excellently and got a lot of views.
I love it. I absolutely love it. What sort of impacts do you think you guys are having? Have you heard from any politicians reaching out to you, going, "I love your work," or anything along those lines that you're willing to share?
I think, Alex, look, the Crewkerne Gazette has reached over 200 million people across the world. It's a cultural, social phenomenon that has never been seen before, and this largely, of course, because of the technology. But politicians have taken to it. I think Nigel Farage enjoys it. I know he was on GBNews a couple of weeks ago with Jacob Rees-Mogg saying how hilarious it was because, of course, we set up a dance competition between them both. So, yeah, the politicians love it. Andrew Griffith of the Conservative Party the other day, I think, rightly called for a BAFTA for the Crewkerne Gazette. It's about time, right?
Yeah.
See it. I'm all for you guys getting a BAFTA. Listen, I guess the other thing is, how do you do it at such breakneck speed? What sort of hours are you working with here? Because I see a political scandal, which you said is kind of weekly at this point, but you guys, within 24 hours, sometimes less than that, you've got a video out.
I think, and that's one of the important things about the Crewkerne Gazette. It's the fact that we're able to act quickly. And a lot of that's down to our technology. We have some of the best AI technology in this country, imported initially from America. And it facilitates the creation of these videos often within 2 to 6 hours. So we pretty much are breaking the news often before people have got back from work.
Incredible stuff. Listen, Crewkerne gentlemen, look after yourselves and keep on doing what you're doing. Come and give us an exclusive in the studio of one of your new videos one day if you can get here in time before you've built it. That'd be great.
Absolutely, yeah.
Love to see it. Thank you, gents. Take care. Have a good one in the pub. I've got my panel here. I just wanted to ask them, Jack, I'll start with you. What do you think the impact of gentlemen like these? I mean, of course, they have captured the nation, haven't they? These gents. What do you think the impact they're having on society is with the AI-generated videos?
Yeah, well, I think as they mentioned, really the most important thing with AI here is the speed at which you could do it. A lot of people have been doing, political satire stuff, on the internet, since I've been around in politics, over the past decade or so. But, using things like, Photoshop and video editing software to make those kind of high-quality videos just takes a while. So really what you're seeing here is people who have, comedic genius being able to actually make this content so much faster and get it, to be timely, as I said, 2 to 6 hours within, literally within a day of a scandal breaking. And I think that's the difference between sort of them and, the AI slop, you see, the very low effort stuff. It's all they're still writing the lyrics themselves. They're just getting the production value from the AI.
This is it. Ellie, is there any negative, downsides to this at all, or is it just great comedy?
Well, I think it's very influential in how people view politics. So obviously these guys are sort of more on the right. If I were Labour, by the way, I'd be thinking, you've got to start building your own. You've got to build your own. I have friends who are not particularly interested in politics, sending me these videos. For example, they did one of Kemi Badenoch at the budget, and it was her, absolutely rinsing Rachel Reeves, and it was brilliant. They were going, God, she was good, wasn't she? Sort of thing. I mean, it skews people's perception of various politicians and politics, but that is just campaigning. I think it's going to change how parties and people campaign now.
Benjamin, should we just shut down the internet and stop all this madness? Is that what you'd call for?
Who needs the four of us to sit here when you could just have 4 Crewkerne AIs? I think
You know, this kind of stuff is always countercultural, and so it shouldn't be a surprise that the types of videos that go viral are mocking the people in power, because I think that's what happens typically of satire. But I do think on another level, there's a danger with AI that you can't, it's getting very good at a very rapid speed, and while it's clear that this is satire and AI, the danger of people not knowing what is real and the ability of malactors to put stuff out that is intended to distort rather than to mock, I think is a danger going forward.
Yeah, I certainly see your point on that, and I am conscious of it. I think this one, at least you can tell, is AI, right? I mean, it's so outrageous.
You might have to have a watermark on these things in the future.
I think you're right.
Sort of like, you know, on Instagram, you have to say an ad before.
I think even the social media companies will have to put something in there that they notice about the video when you upload it, so that the people can't get away with hiding it, because there will be, you know, bad actors who will try and cover it up. Anyway, listen, I hope you, gents, still watching. If you're watching from the pub, great stuff. Keep popping them out. We're all loving them here at GB News, and I'm sure our audience is absolutely loving them. Someone here says, Billy Will says, it's the new spitting image. I think that is a very good characterisation of it. All right. Well, look, now before we go to a break, after a spectacular week of political developments, tune into the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. Camilla will be joined by Work and Pensions Secretary Pat McFadden, the Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice, Shadow Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, Alex Burghardt, and Independent MP Rosie Duffield. What a lineup. You will not want to miss it. And coming up next, over the next hour at least, we'll be looking at the startling GB News exclusive, where councils are clamouring to join in a Home Office pilot scheme that would see asylum seekers placed in newly revamped and bought, potentially, council houses. But next.
Settle in this country forever is not a right, but a privilege.
It's like Shabana Trump, isn't it? There you go. Shabana Mahmood talks tough, but are her actions finally catching up with her rhetoric? We'll be talking about this long-awaited clampdown on visas in certain countries that won't take back their criminals. That's next.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co. with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight. Do you remember when Shabana Mahmood said this?
Settle this country forever is not a right, but a privilege.
Well, now up to 4,000 convicted criminals, including murderers and rapists, by the way, stand to be deported after the Home Secretary has started what's being called a Trump-style visa clampdown. Namibia, Angola and the Democratic Republic of Congo have reportedly been strong-armed by Shabana Mahmood after initially showing reluctance to taking back their illegal migrants. After these sanctioned threats, Mahmood is said to have warned other countries about similar visa restrictions, with countries such as Nigeria and Pakistan reportedly in the crosshairs. But given that 41,000 people reached the UK by small boats last year, although this policy undoubtedly grabs headlines, is it just tinkering around the edges? Is it a bit of a PR moment in a massive government crisis? Well, joining me, of course, alongside my panel is Director of Civic Engagement and Senior Correspondent for Logical Politics, Khadija Brown. Khadija, thanks again for coming back. Do you think this is PR by the Home Secretary? Because most people would say we've not even been able to deport men who committed crimes as part of the Pakistani rape gangs, for example, which we spoke about earlier on this show. Do you think that she's actually going to get what she wants, or do you think we're just too weak and we've got to go after these small countries like in Africa that will bend over backwards for us?
In all honesty, I find it quite humorous, because these are the things that the right wing were fighting for, and Shabana Mahmood and the whole Labour party called them far right. It's so funny that now it's not a far right thing and she's proposing it. For me, I don't believe it's genuine. I feel like she is just trying to score brownie points and to pacify the right, to please the left. Because if she was really serious and she really wanted to do something serious about it, then the first thing she would do is get out of the ECHR, because the ECHR gives rights for immigrants, illegal immigrants, over the nationals. So if Shabana Mahmood, who has a ginormous platform, really wants to make a change, this is where she should start. Because we do have problem with both legal and illegal migration. It needs to be capped. And the legal migration, it needs to be capped, and only if they have actual good jobs that they can...
highly skilled.
Yeah, they have to be highly skilled or fund themselves, because how much more can this country and its services give? And whilst I see that she's trying to make this rules of 10-year and 15-year, it's not changing the things, changing the problem. And the illegal immigration, which has been the greatest issue that most of the right wing has been pushing for, she's not even scratching the surface. Because
this is a really good, by the way, because what you picked up on earlier on, which was what Labour used to call this stuff far right, Benjamin. It's not far right anymore. It's Labour Party policy.
I mean, Labour has never said that dealing with illegal immigration is far right, so that's a complete
maybe fair, but some on the left have.
Well, the left is a lot of people, right? That's like saying Tommy Robinson is the Tory party. It would be a nonsense thing to say. But actually, I mean, quite evidently it's not PR, because this is things that have actually been done. So I think they announced this week 58,000 illegal immigrants have been removed in the past couple of months. Even Kemi Badenoch said that she thinks that Shabana Mahmood is doing a good job, the Tory leader. And so, I'm glad. And actually, let's just be clear, it was 14 years and lots of grandstanding. People like Suella Braverman and Robert Jenrick, who have now jumped ship, but they had the power to do this, and they never did.
But isn't that why they resigned? Because they didn't have the
government
power
to actually do it. And so I think, take the win when you get it. This is a rational way to behave. I also hope that this goes on to other countries, because I think this is the logic behind it. All these countries that might be relatively poor or not as developed, they all have an elite, and the elites in those countries love coming to London. And so telling them they can't get their visas, none of you are coming, is a really effective tool, because those are the decision makers in places like Angola or Pakistan.
Ellie, your thoughts very briefly, if you don't mind.
Actually, Shabana Mahmood was videoing herself in Greece a couple of years ago, welcoming migrants coming onto the beach. So this is sort of U-turn. But I do think that this whole it's a Trump-style crackdown is government spin.
Yes.
It's spin.
Yeah, I agree. Well, listen, I've got to quickly read out this Rise reply. The Home Secretary has introduced sweeping reforms to the immigration system and to scale up removals of those who have no right to be here. It helps to reduce costs for the UK taxpayer while we intensify our enforcement action, with almost 50,000 removed since the election. All right, coming up, it's a story on everyone's lips. We'll be giving you, of course, an update, a latest on Peter Mandelson's scandal. But next, we'll have an exclusive GB News investigation on asylum seekers who could be put up in revamped and brand new council houses. It is a scandal. That is next, an exclusive here on Alex Armstrong Tonight. See you in a moment.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, there's more rain to come, especially across eastern Scotland tonight. Showers easing elsewhere, and that will allow a few mist and fog patches to start Sunday morning. So low pressure is still dominating our weather. The wind's coming up more from a south and southeasterly direction. So the rain across Northern Ireland, Northern England will continue to push its way northwards, coming into much of Scotland. We have a yellow Met Office rain warning in force again for eastern parts of Scotland, so you could see some disruption and some flooding. To the south of that, any clear skies. We may even see some mist and fog patches across the southeast of England and across Northern Ireland. Otherwise, a generally frost-free, mild start to Sunday. But a wet Sunday to come across much of Scotland, even pushing into western areas. But most persistent rain, first thing, is going to be across eastern areas. Across Northern Ireland to start Sunday morning, quite murky with some low cloud, mist and fog. A similar picture for the rest of England and Wales. There could be some brightness just coming through first thing on Sunday. For Sunday as a whole, though, it does look to be generally drier than Saturday. There will be some breaks in the cloud to give it some glimpses of some sunshine, but otherwise later on in the afternoon we'll start to see showers progressing in from the west. So across Devon and Cornwall into Wales we'll see some heavy showers, possibly with some thunder. Longer spells of rain persisting across Scotland. Otherwise it's still generally rather mild, highs of up to 9 or 11 degrees. A messy picture as we go into Monday. A lot of cloud around, perhaps quite murky to start. Further spells of rain pushing their way northwards into Scotland, and then again areas that do not need any more wet rainfall. It is going to be turning wet in the west, drier in the east with some sunshine. The unsettled theme is still here to stay, but perhaps temperatures just dropping later.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could win cash and the ultimate holiday in our two-part Great British Giveaway. Thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for two people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll get to choose the kind of holiday you want. Plus, we're going to give you £30,000 in tax-free cash.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, it's 10 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight on the show, we'll have that exclusive GB News investigation on asylum seekers who could be put up in revamped council houses. This is Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, of course. Next, here is the Prime Minister.
I am sorry. Sorry for what was done to you. Sorry that so many people with power failed you. Sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies and appointed him.
Well, he keeps on saying sorry, but is it enough? The Peter Mandelson scandal is engulfing Westminster and now threatening the Prime Minister's job. We are on resignation watch also.
There is a genuine problem in this asylum system and we need someone to sort it out.
A GB News exclusive as we unearth a score of councils willing to enter into a Home Office scheme that would see migrants getting revamped council houses also.
The President and the Trump administration have been very clear. If you are in the country illegally, you are subject to deportation.
Shabana Trump, because the Home Secretary is using the same visa tactics used by Donald Trump now to clamp down on illegal migration in Britain. Is it a welcome move or is it a PR stunt also?
Sunbathe until the sunset and then we'll go for a nice few cocktails on the seafront. There's loads of lovely places in Brighton.
That could be your GP for better or worse. Yes, if a new government plan comes off, doctors won't just need scrubs and a stethoscope, they'll need their goggles and suntan lotion. But how do you feel about getting diagnosed by a doctor sunning themselves in Australia? And the front pages are dropping. The Mail on Sunday, Epstein's very cute Romanian for Andrew at Palace. The Sunday Mirror, get your act together. Pretty damning stuff. We'll be going through all these papers later in the show, of course, and joining me this evening is journalist Jack Hadfield, senior reporter at Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley, and journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth. And the Crewkerne Gazette is at it again. It's just so good. Look, your Saturday evening is just getting started, but first we're going to get your news bulletins with the brilliant even Sophia Wensler.
Alex, thank you, and good evening. It's just gone 10 o'clock. These are your headlines. It's being reported that David Lammy had warned Sir Keir Starmer against appointing Lord Mandelson as the ambassador to the US. According to the Telegraph newspaper, the Deputy Prime Minister has let it be known that he had not been in favour of bringing him back into government over his links to Jeffrey Epstein. It comes as former Prime Minister Gordon Brown has said Peter Mandelson committed a betrayal of his country by allegedly leaking government secrets to Epstein and putting Britain at risk. Peter Mandelson is accused of sending market-sensitive government information to the late paedophile Jeffrey Epstein while he was the business secretary during the financial crisis. The Metropolitan Police, meanwhile, says the criminal investigation into allegations against Lord Mandelson is complex. The force has concluded their search of 2 of his properties in London and Wiltshire and said that a significant amount of further evidence gathering and analysis is required. Mandelson denies any wrongdoing. In other news now, President Volodymyr Zelensky says the US wants Moscow and Kyiv to find a solution on how to end the war in Ukraine before the summer. The Ukrainian president added that both sides had been invited to the US for talks next week. It comes after Zelensky claimed Russia had launched 400 drones and 40 missiles in its latest attack on Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Elsewhere, the NHS is hiring foreign GPs to treat patients virtually from abroad, according to reports in The Telegraph. It's understood doctors are being hired who are based in countries including Australia, India and Malaysia as part of the NHS's 10-year plan to free up GPs. It means patients will be treated by their doctors over a computer screen or on the phone. It comes after a report in December revealed the UK has twice as many foreign doctors and nurses as the Western average. Now, much of England and Wales are at risk of flooding after it's rained every day of this year so far. South West England and South Wales have seen 50% more rainfall than usual for this time of year. The Environment Agency has issued dozens of flood warnings, mostly scattered across the south and southwest of England and the Midlands. And England have started the Six Nations off with a bang, beating Wales 48-7 in their opening match at the Allianz Stadium. Arundel celebrated his first Test start since the 2023 World Cup by running in 3 first-half tries, and there were also touchdowns for Ben Earl, Toe Roebuck and Tommy Freeman, as well as a penalty try. Those are your latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Alex.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Illegal migrants will get brand new council houses or even refurbished council houses as the Labour government is planning to repurpose them with your taxpayer money as part of its plan to close the hotels.
You want to come to England?
Yeah.
Why?
Because here I don't have home.
Do you think that they give you money in England?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, but I think they are give me England. They are give me money. You can help me anything. I can need. Okay. Maybe you.
Well, he's not wrong, is he? Let's be honest, he's not wrong. That's all while 1.3 million British families languish on social housing waiting lists, many of them tax-paying working people, veterans, family who've paid into the system their entire lives. To put this in perspective, Hackney has over 8,500 households on the waiting list for council housing, with some of it stretching to 15 years for a 2-bedroom, 17 years for a 3-bed, and up to 32 years for larger family properties. Yet they have signed up to this pilot scheme. So without a shadow of a doubt, illegal migrants will jump the queue and be put before British people. It's not even arguable at this point. It's policy. This entire scheme is costing the taxpayer, you at home, £500 million, 500 million quid of your money into a pilot scheme that's got around now 200 councils sniffing around for a bit of extra cash. This isn't going to end, is it? This is an incentive because the small boats will keep on coming when they hear news like this. 194,000 illegal crossings under Starmer's government alone. The bill for hotels has already blown up to 2.1 billion in a single year, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And ministers squirm and say new council homes won't be used for asylum seekers. But this scheme's own purpose is to close hotels by moving them in to refurbished stock funded by the Home Office. So it's true, isn't it? It's literally there in black and white. It's not compassionate. It's betrayal of the British people. It's telling law-abiding British citizens that you are not our priority, all because they haven't got the gall, successive governments, by the way, to deport people who have illegally broken into our country, and now you're at the back of the line. Frankly, it's a disgrace at the bare minimum. Let's get the thoughts of my panel here tonight. Journalist Jack Hadfield's joining me, senior reporter at Guido Fawkes, Ellie Wheatley's here, journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth, and we've got a special guest joining me tonight, John Rudat, international journalist, is also on the panel. Jack, I want to start with you again on this, because you have been to so many protests. I've been to a few of them. I've bumped into you on a few occasions, of course, Jack. People are furious. They're furious enough that migrants are being moved onto military bases. That's bad enough. But now that they'll find out that British people will be at the back of the queue while councils spend money not housing British people, but housing illegal migrants instead.
Exactly. It is just really a spit in the face of every British citizen who is on the council housing list, and even just looking to buy a new home to begin with. Younger people will find it impossible to buy homes because the housing prices have shot up so terribly. There is a two-pronged screwing going on here. Firstly, obviously, people who are waiting on the social housing list for forever will get bumped down to make room for these illegal migrants. And even in London and so on, our capital city, around 50% of social housing is headed up by somebody who is foreign-born already. And then number two, as we've seen at the protests, putting the asylum seekers into houses where you don't know where they are is actually worse than the hotels already. We saw each other at Crowborough just a couple of weeks ago, and obviously that's a military base there. The problem of putting them in military bases and hotels right now is that they're allowed to roam around the community. Everybody I spoke to at Crowborough said it would be a far better situation if they were in, for example, former military bases or camps of the like, but they were locked in, they were held in there, they weren't allowed to go around and terrorise the community. That's the issue, that they're allowed to roam around and commit the sexual assaults, rapes, obviously, that we've seen. So actually now this is even worse. I think Orla Minahan from the Pink Ladies has said, that the thing with hotels is, and the military bases, while they're allowed to move around, you at least know where they are.
Yeah, that's
when
true.
They're being spread around into these new council stock, you won't know where they are, and they're already in HMOs in some parts of the country. This is going to disperse them, spread them out. So you may be able to avoid a hotel for now, but now they could literally just be anywhere.
They could be living next door to you, right? And you will not get a say in it. And you will be paying for it. It is an absolute disgusting disgrace. It is spitting in the face, Ellie, of British people who have, not asked for this, by the way. They have voted time and time again for governments to get on top of this issue. There is simple solutions. The government are dragging their feet on it. And they say they're trying to stop the drag for people coming here. This is an incentive to come to Britain.
Absolutely. And let's not forget, last year, boat crossings went up 13%. Last week, Shabana Mahmood admitted that they will not fall down, that the numbers will not fall this time next year. They can't say a single gang that they've so-called smashed. She admitted...
Rishi Sunak smashed more gangs, by the way, and it wasn't even his headline policy.
And also, she admitted that migrants are coming over and landing in the UK and going, well, which hotel am I being sent to? And this is not there's no de-incentive to come in if you know that there will be a nice refurbed council home for you. I think the really important thing that actually, when the story first came out, that the scheme was happening, that Reform council chiefs actually wrote to the Home Secretary at the time and said, this creates a mentality of them versus us. It sows division and resentment against these migrants. Of course, many of them actually are fleeing war and persecution, and if they get their claims accepted, then absolutely fine. But it creates a real division between communities. It's not helping anything at all.
It does. Benjamin, Ellie's absolutely right. It is divisive. It is wrong. British taxpayers shouldn't have to fork out for illegal migrants to come here to be put up in social housing that many people are waiting half of their lives on.
Well, British taxpayers absolutely should pay for refugees. We have a long, proud history of helping people fleeing atrocious situations, most famously with some of the Jewish people that came here during and after the Second World War. We should help some people. The numbers are too high, that's clear. People coming across in boats is an abuse of them, let alone anyone else, because they put themselves often into modern slavery. But the idea we shouldn't help someone is wrong.
Should they be put ahead of British people on social social housing.
You claim...
Is that what Labour should stand for?
You claim the figure of £2.1 billion a year for hotels. If changing it to housing and former and unused military bases cuts that cost, then that is eminently sensible policy.
Can I just say, it won't actually cut the cost, because when the military barracks were announced to be having migrants there, they admitted that it's going to be more expensive than putting them up in hotels. And Downing Street accepted that and go, well, at least it doesn't look as bad.
Yeah, it's optics, right? This is not good optics, by the way. John, you know, you're an international journalist. You've seen parts of Europe that are struggling with this crisis. What is the feeling amongst other European countries?
I'm noticing something very interesting with this case in particular, and I'm seeing that why aren't we sending the money, at least, to expedite the processing of this asylum requests, rather than spending it unnecessarily on building grants for these new locations? I think it would be much better served for the migrants, putting the migrants first, to better assimilate them into this culture and to stabilize them economically so they can actually work, because they can't work when they're on asylum.
Yeah, I just want to read this out, this comment here, from Robert Patterson. I don't think it's the famous actor, just to be clear.
What a scoop.
But great name either way, Robert. Alex, here in Brighton and Hove, I was on the social housing waiting list for 19 years before I got a flat. Loads of people I know have been waiting more than 10 years. Opposite my flat on Hove Lawns, we have loads of homeless camping out. Now the left-wing council want to put illegal migrants before UK residents. Then they wonder why we get annoyed and call us racist for objecting. Please. Plus, we have been denied elections twice now. It's a perfect storm brewing. Happy Rob in Hove. Jack, damning stuff.
Yeah, it really is just atrocious. Yeah, I think, you know, the government does need to focus on deporting most of these people to begin with. I think, frankly, there's lots of things that they can do. One thing is human rights legislation, which means that you can't lock up the asylum seekers to begin with. You can lock up the people who are being ready to, who are about to be deported in these detention centres, but you can't do it while they're just looking for asylum to begin with. I think we should make it a rule so that if you come to this country illegally, you know, you should not be allowed to claim asylum. You know, you could, if you wanted to claim asylum, you could go to the British Embassy in the country that you are and then work through the system there. But frankly, I completely disagree with you, Benjamin. You know, I don't think the British people need to take these.
Should go to the local embassy, which would mean you'd have 10 times as many, 100 times as many. How does that make sense, Jack?
Well, it's clearly, well, frankly, we shouldn't be taking these people in to begin with. But if they were, if they were wanting to do it legally, again, they should not come into this country on small boats.
What is the legal route for someone
just overall, but generally, I don't think there should be a legal route. I don't think there should be a legal route at all.
What's the legal route?
But I don't think there should be a legal route. Frankly,
there should be.
For what there is now, of course. But
I think there's actually quite a simple solution that both Reform and the Tories have put forward, which is if you come across here on a small boat and you are an undocumented illegal migrant, leave the ECHR, detain them. If they absolutely, if they have a claim accepted, absolutely fine. If not, deported. And by the way, if that news got back to Calais, you'd see the numbers fall pretty quickly and we wouldn't have such a problem.
John, when you go to Germany quite a lot, do a lot of reporting there, what kind of division is it creating in Germany, for example?
Honestly, it seems to be the manifestation of modern-day segregation. I'm seeing a massive divide in the consciousness of the public in their sentiment towards these migrants, and these obvious mishandlings of money, of the taxpayer money that they're paying, their hard-earned money, and these economies aren't strong. They're going down the drain. All of that money is seen going into programs like these, and the taxpayers aren't getting proper justification. They're not listening to their authority and feeling like their work is getting taken care of and their work is getting respected.
Yeah, this is the thing, right? You pay your taxes. You pay a lot of money in your taxes. You pay that to the government, who are funding this pilot scheme. Then you pay it to your council, who are also taking part to get money from the government that you've already paid for, right? They are now going to prioritise those illegal migrants over people who've waited all their lives, possibly, to get on the... Some of these council waiting lists are 100 years long. Westminster, for example, right? It is disgusting. There is no justification, Benjamin, for a government to spend money for migrants to go into social housing first, right? That's the worst case scenario scenario here is to build or refurbish or put people into houses that British people should be getting first.
Well, you're trying to punch down. I mean, the reason that there is a massive long list of demand for council houses isn't because of something that happened in the last 18 months or even the last 5 years.
I'm not saying it is.
For years, councils, Westminster Council, until very recently, was the safest Tory council in the country. It is one of the richest, which is why it had the lowest council tax. And they had no interest in building council houses.
What I'm saying, Benjamin. You're not answering directly what I'm saying. Why should an illegal migrant get ahead of somebody who's a British citizen who deserves to get that house first?
Well, first of all, this is putting money into those council houses to refurbish them, which will be a good thing in the long run.
But British people won't be getting them.
The real problem...
British people won't be getting them.
I won't be lectured to by people that support right-wing politicians that let veterans sleep on the street.
Is that the best you can do, Benjamin?
People that have
is that really the best argument
vulnerable
you've got?
People in this country have been put aside for years because no one wanted to invest in council housing, while there is an elite that has creamed off the top for themselves. Those are the people we should be holding accountable. The tax evaders and the wealthy that don't want to pay their fair share.
Well, I'm glad to see we've got Zach Polanski on the panel tonight.
I've got a few more teeth. In fact, I've got too many teeth because my wisdom are coming through.
John, might I add something? Benjamin, I hear you out, and you bring up some strong points worth for consideration in regards to how this money is getting handled. I mean, you said it yourself just a second ago. You're worried about elites taking advantage of this entire process. My worry is that the governmental oversight from this money won't be properly handled, and it'll go into the pockets of private contractors and won't actually go to housing. Do you have a recommendation or a plan or an idea about how we could make a governmental oversight program for this exponential amount of taxpayer cash going into this project?
What's your plan, Benjamin?
I mean, look, any spending of government money should be transparent, but really, £500 million is the tip of the iceberg to what needs to be spent on council housing and property, building properties full stop.
For illegal migrants, I guess, Benjamin, if you have it your way.
Well, for British people and for people that we take in to help because we're a decent compassionate...
200,000 of those alone at the moment under Keir Starmer. I mean, we couldn't build enough social housing to just fill the illegal migrants in those houses at this point in time. It's absolutely ludicrous. Look, a government spokesperson said this: the vast majority of social homes in this country go to British nationals, and priority is given to local people who need it most. People who arrive in the country illegally or migrants on student or work visas cannot access social housing. Work is well underway to shut every asylum hotel, with more suitable sites such as disused military bases coming on stream to ease pressure on communities and cut asylum costs. We're working closely with local councils and property partners to speed up delivery. By the way, tomorrow I'm going to be going to visit Keir Starmer's constituency to see whether they think he should resign. So you're don't want to miss that one if you're around tomorrow evening at the same time, 9 o'clock. Time now for a Great British giveaway. It's your chance to get summer sorted with a luxury £10,000 holiday for two, and we're also giving away 30 grand in tax-free cash. Here's Hayley Sparks with all the details.
You could win cash and the ultimate holiday in our two-part Great British giveaway. Thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for two people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll get to choose the kind of holiday you want. So whether you're looking for hotel comfort or on a relaxing river cruise, you'll be able to find the perfect match from over 30 global destinations on offer. And because the holiday is handpicked with you in mind, you know it's going to be perfect. Plus, we're going to give you £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Your summer can start here, so make sure you don't miss out.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby, DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck, everybody. Coming up, we'll have tomorrow's front pages for you, but next.
I am sorry. Sorry for what was done to you. Sorry that so many people with power failed you. Sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies and appointed him.
There's a lot of shaking going on around the Prime Minister at the moment, isn't there? We're going to have the latest on the Mandelson scandal that is gripping Westminster and might see the Prime Minister lose his job. But this is Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The RECPD, the charity that we're here to sort of raise awareness of today, helps service men and women throughout their careers, both while they're in the army and whilst they're and when they decide to leave the army as well. So it could help a soldier upskill themselves and sort of understanding more about their trade or their craft or whatever their speciality is within the army, or it could help a service personnel or a veteran or any of their families if they need sort of a bit of support when they leave the forces to gain an extra qualification and help them into jobs work. So it's really a sort of end-to-end sort of support.
So, Holly, in particular, because, you know, you don't hear of so many women joining the armed forces.
Absolutely.
What made you join? What is it you love about it?
There are so many opportunities within the army, particularly adventurous training, going out and doing something that pushes you outside of your comfort zone, new challenges, the people that you spend your time with, the kind of community, the friends and the family that you build. But again, you know, linking back to the charity, the opportunities that you can gain through additional qualifications, things that can push you forward in your career, looking beyond the army and stuff. So, yeah, essentially there are a realm of opportunities available to us throughout the army.
All of which is very important, Holly, because I'm noticing adverts at the cinema and on TV and things about it's not only, it's how you attract young people like yourselves into the forces these days. What makes it attractive and what can you leave with? What can the forces do for you? So what you can do for the forces, but what can they do for you?
So this whole charity and the wider forces in general aim to help service personnel and the community join well, serve well and leave well. You will be leaving the army with qualifications or with the ability to get qualifications, which will help you get into further employment.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Well, police have finished searching 2 addresses, one in Wiltshire and one in London. But are they done circling, well, Lord Peter Mandelson? The disgraced peer is under investigation after allegations emerged that he leaked secret government documents and market-sensitive information to paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. Investigators say the case remains complex. No arrest has been made and officers are still examining evidence. So what exactly are they looking for? And in the latest update tonight, The Times is reporting that Peter Mandelson was given a 5-figure payoff. 5 figures for his sacking. Let that sink in for a second. The disgraced former ambassador received an exit payment equivalent to 3 months' salary in what is amounting to a running headache for our now beleaguered Prime Minister, with Labour polling at historic lows. I've seen them polling at 4th, 5th place. It is unheard of. Well, joining me now is political advisor Pablo Ohana. Pablo, thank you very much for joining me this evening. Listen, Pablo, this is not going to go away for the Prime Minister. Let's get real. This is now what at least the 5th day. I was reporting on this story last Saturday. That's how long this is staying in the press for. What do you think of it all, Pablo?
It's not going away, and for good reason. I mean, it's a really weird place to be, because in one sense, I'm glad that there is this much outrage, and I'm glad that we're seeing repercussions, because actually, you know, the British reaction over here shows that there is sort of still a chance of justice. In the US, it's been a lot more muted. We're not really seeing the same kind of reactions, but, you know, the reaction to Mandelson and ex-Prince Andrew really shows how far they've been pushed out of public life. But I mean, I agree. Look, politics is full of leaders who never say sorry. I don't think Boris Johnson knows the word even exists. So I will give it to Starmer that he owned it. He did apologise. It felt genuine to me. I think he meant it. But the truth is, this is a case of a plague on both your houses, because Starmer appointed Mandelson as ambassador to the US, not in spite of his relationship with Epstein, but in large part because of what it represented. You know, many people supported that at the time. You know, from Farage to Lammy, there was a lot of people queuing up to congratulate Starmer for this appointment, and sort of now backtracking. But, you know, I think it really, the whole thing has just been really a sad episode for our country, for our politics, for our royal family. And now, as you say, to learn that he wasn't just sacked and disgraced, but left with a cheque. I'm lost. I'm lost for words. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, Pablo, I think the whole country is lost for words. We have gone through so much chaos the last few years, and I don't hold any positive flame for the previous government either, just to be clear about that. But this was promised as a government of change, and it's been a government of continuity, if not continuity of the downfall of Britain, in my opinion. Of course, this isn't... I'm looking at the front page of the Mail as we're talking here, Jack. Sorry, Pablo, I don't know if you've seen it. Epstein's very cute Romanian for Andrew at Palace. What is the repercussions here for the entire establishment institutions of Britain? We're talking about the Tories being completely dead in the water at the moment. We're talking about the Labour Party sinking to historic lows. We're talking about the Palace being indicted in all of this. What are the repercussions here?
Do you know, I know this seems like a really simple answer, but I hate all of this. I hate what those women and girls went through. I hate what it's doing to our country. I hate what it's doing to the trust in our institutions, like Parliament, like the royal family. The whole thing is so disgusting, and it's hard-working Britons who are effectively paying for failure after failure after failure after failure. I do think that there is, one of the things that I think sticks out of this that I think is quite important is that there needs to be actual, and when I say this word, I really mean actual, institutional, deep-rooted change. And I know we hear that word a lot, but I mean things like, why is the royal family not subject to freedom of information inquiries in the UK? That could uncover an awful lot of who knew what, when, and why it wasn't shared. So all of these kinds of things that are coming out to light now are coming because people were allowed to bury it and cover it up and push it away. And for decades, people were getting away with the most grotesque crimes. And here we are now, as you say. It feels like the country's just in crisis.
Sorry to interrupt you, because we haven't got loads of time, and I wanted to ask you, what do you think Harry and Meghan are making all of this over in Montecito?
I suspect they might feel a little bit vindicated, is what I would say to that.
Go on, why do you think they feel vindicated?
Well, I mean, they stepped away from the royal family because they thought that it was, an institution that was sort of covering things up and that wasn't being truthful and was misleading the public, and they felt like they had a lot of pressure that was not fair, and they felt that they were being treated differently. And there was the racism in the royal family goes back, generations. That's nothing new. But, the way the royal family has behaved, this is an institution that we should be proud of and should be representing our country. It's one of our great powers, right? They go out and they represent us, not just in the country, but across the whole world. And it is so tainted right now, and it is so wrapped up in this scandal. I mean, as I say, if I was Harry and Meghan, I would be feeling pretty vindicated, given that they stepped back from that and just said, you know what, this is not something we want to be a part of. And
I think you have a point to make. I disagree with you on the racism stuff. I think they've dealt with that quite well, actually, if I'm being honest with you. And I do put that on Harry and Meghan, because they've even retracted that statement. Harry's retracted it on air before. He's even retracted it in interviews with British journalists, saying, we never said that. So obviously, I think they might have slipped up on that one a little bit. I do think there is something to be said about the royal family really feeling the pinch over this. I really do. People will be asking questions whether the king acted fast enough. I'm glad he acted when he did, because if he'd waited this long, I think he'd be in serious trouble. But Pablo, Ohana, thank you very much for joining me this evening. I really appreciate your thoughts on this. Let me come to my panel here. Benjamin, this is bad for Keir Starmer. He's finished, isn't he?
When he said it's bad, I was like, for who?
Oh, no, I wasn't saying for you.
For Keir Starmer, well, yes.
He's finished, isn't he?
It is over. I think it won't be over until after the local elections, because all the people that want his job, it's not in their self-interest right now for various reasons. So I think, much like Theresa May did, and Boris Johnson, he will limp on for a few more months. But I also think there's some significant revisionism in what's going on, because everything we know about Peter Mandelson now makes it obvious that it was wrong. Keir Starmer said sorry. But at the time when Peter Mandelson was appointed, it was the overwhelming response that that was a good idea. It was not a secret that he had maintained a friendship with Epstein. The fact that he had been shopping with him, pictures of that had been in the Financial Times. The evidence that they were still friends was known. And no news outlets that I can see, including this one, across the board, people like Nigel Farage, people that know Trump, they all said, what a good calling. And they said that because Peter Mandelson is in the swamp, and they thought that would work with Donald Trump.
Interesting.
And so I just think people saying that he made a terrible misjudgment, they didn't say that at the time.
Guido did.
Guido did, actually.
Yeah.
Ellie really can say this is a terrible idea. And look, there's a lot of people coming out today, and I'll get to some of their names very shortly, because a lot of them, including Keir Starmer's own front benches, are saying, I warned you about this. We're going to get to some of those names. Stay with us till after the break, because there's a lot more to uncover here. Regarding Lord Mandelson, he's previously denied any wrongdoing in relation to Jeffrey Epstein, stating this: I was never culpable or complicit in his crimes. Like everyone else, I learned the actual truth about him after his death. He added that he had relied on assurances of his innocence that he also turned out later to be horrendously false. There's been no suggestion by police that Lord Mandelson is suspected of any criminal offence, and searches of property linked to him do not imply guilt or wrongdoing. A Downing Street spokesperson also told GBNews Peter Mandelson's actions are unforgivable. He lied to the Prime Minister, he hid information, has since come to light, and presented Jeffrey Epstein as someone he barely knew. Well, after a week of spectacular political developments, tune in to Camilla Tominey tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Camilla's going to be joined by a pretty star panel. I'm sure it's going to be absolute fireworks. There's Work and Pension Secretary Pat McFadden, the Deputy Leader of Reform UK Richard Tice, Shadow Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster Alex Burghardt, and Independence MP Rosie Duffield. Trust me, you're definitely going to want to miss that one. Right, look, hot off the press. We're going to have tomorrow's headlines for you. In The Independent, Starmer's deputy gives warning of Mandelson impact. And I'm going to go through some of the names that are stabbing their knives into the Prime Minister's back, just so they can put their names in the ring for when I'm sure they're all scrapping for his job. That's next.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Yet more wet and windy weather to come this weekend for Iberia, although Sunday at least is less wet for a brief period. There are also lots of showers affecting parts of Greece into Turkey. Italy dry at first on Sunday, but this next batch of rain and showers moves through, that bringing some heavy downpours to the Balearics. Drier for a time across Spain, Portugal and the Canary Islands, but more rain and wind on the way by early next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, there's more rain to come, especially across eastern Scotland tonight. Showers easing elsewhere, and that will allow a few mist and fog patches to start Sunday morning. So low pressure is still dominating our weather. The wind's coming up more from a south and southeasterly direction. So the rain across Northern Ireland, Northern England will continue to push its way northwards, coming into much of Scotland. We have a yellow Met Office rain warning in force again for eastern parts of Scotland, so could see some disruption and some flooding. To the south of that, any clear skies. We may even see some mist and fog patches across the southeast of England and across Northern Ireland. Otherwise, a generally frost-free, mild start to Sunday. But a wet Sunday to come across much of Scotland, even pushing into western areas, but most persistent rain first thing is going to be across eastern areas, across Northern Ireland to start Sunday morning, quite murky with some low cloud, mist and fog. A similar picture for the rest of England and Wales. There could be some brightness just coming through first thing on Sunday. For Sunday as a whole, though, it does look to be generally drier than Saturday. There will be some breaks in the cloud to give it some glimpses of some sunshine, but otherwise later on in the afternoon we'll start to see showers progressing in from the west. So across Devon and Cornwall into Wales, we'll see some heavy showers, possibly with some thunder, longer spells of rain persisting across Scotland. Otherwise, it's still generally rather mild, highs of up to 9 or 11 degrees. A messy picture as we go into Monday. A lot of cloud around, perhaps quite murky to start. Further spells of rain pushing their way northwards into Scotland. And then again, areas that do not need any more wet rainfall, it is going to be turning wet in the west, drier in the east with some sunshine. The unsettled theme is still here to stay, but perhaps temperatures just dropping later.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Time to bring you tomorrow's front pages. Let's go through them together, shall we? The Mail on Sunday. Epstein's very cute Romanian for Andrew at Palace. The Sunday Mirror. Get your act together. Well, even they've turned on the Prime Minister. Well, there you go. The Independent. Starmer's deputy gives warning of Mandelson impact. The Sunday Express. Red Arrow's heroes flying foreign jets. The Sun on Sunday. Kylie and Annie's baby number 5 as ever. Of course, they're on point, aren't they, The Sun? And leading the gbnews.com website tonight, Rachel Reeves under pressure to delegate delivery of non-event spring statement to junior minister. What on earth is going on? Also on the front page, Labour to spend £650,000 sending clueless civil servants on education trips to farms. That's because they botched their farming policies up so much, isn't it? Winter Olympics thrown into chaos as police discover explosive device on railway. What is wrong with this world? Seriously, what is wrong? Listen, I'm joined by my fantastic panel here, as ever. Jack Hadfield's here, Ellie Wheatley's here, journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth, and of course, international journalist John Rudat is joining me this evening. If you've noticed, I've got a birthday cake here that Saturday 5 and my producers and team here bought for me, which is very kind of them, and some wine as well. I don't know if you can see, I'll push the cake forward here. It's my 35th today, so thank you all, thank you guys for being here on my birthday party here at GB News. Exciting life, isn't it? Exciting life I've got. And thank you to GB News for embarrassing me at the start of my show. Really appreciate that. Cheers to all of you at home. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Thank you. Thank you. Cheers, Ellie. I can't reach you over there. John, cheers to you too, Jack. Right, let's get on with some proper news, shall we? Should we play this clip of David Lammy?
Peter Mandelson is a man of considerable expertise. He's the right man for this moment to be our ambassador. He's been a business secretary, a Northern Ireland secretary. Of course, he's worked in the European Commission, and he brings all of that to bear working as our ambassador in the United States. And of course, he's looking forward to presenting his credentials to Donald Trump.
Oh. Well, David. Interesting, because you've got a nice little piece here in the Telegraph. Not you personally, but the Telegraph has said here that David Lammy, who is the Deputy Prime Minister, by the way, has turned on the Prime Minister and said he's confirmed this evening that he'd not been in favour of bringing on the Prince of Darkness back into government over his links to Jeffrey Epstein. Mr Lammy is the first cabinet minister to break openly with the embattled PM. They're just all scrapping for the job now, aren't they? They're all... Angela Rayner did it the other day, didn't she? When I told Keir that I didn't like... You know, I can't do her accent, actually. This is one I can't do. But, you know, this is where we're at, isn't it? This is where they're all waiting for their chance now. Ellie, they're just waiting for their chance to get shot.
Well, I mean, the sharks are circling. They definitely smell blood. I think, actually, this could be a sort of Chris Pincher moment for Starmer. I don't think he's got long left at all. It's not just Rayner and Lammy who are calling him out for appointing Mandelson. Starmer knew his close ties to Peter Mandelson. In 2019, Channel 4 came out with a documentary where it was alleged that Mandelson had called up Epstein while he was in prison to arrange, while he was also a minister, to arrange a meeting with Jamie Dimon, the top banker, and it was done, and he was called Petey, and they were best friends. None of this was unknown. And Starmer coming out now and blaming the civil servants it was the vetting process, he lied, I just believe him. That's nonsense as well. The vetting process is basically advisory for a political appointee. Starmer and his chief of staff, Morgan McSweeney, and also Mandelson's protégé, waved it through. They knew all of this, and it's going to bring Starmer down, 100%. And I don't know if Lammy's necessarily vying for the top job, but I think he's come out because he knows this is the end for Starmer, and he wants to be on the right side for it. And I think Morgan's going to go pretty quickly, and after that, so will Starmer.
And that's the end of New Labour, really, isn't it? Let's face it, that New Labour is finished after this. I'm sure you're very upset about that, Benjamin. Nana Queer, of course, GB News presenter here. Well, I'll tell you what, she's got some words for you. I want to get on the wrong side of Nana Queer. She said, tell Benjamin that I did a monologue at the time of Mandelson's appointment saying how he was absolutely the wrong person. So I hope you can take that back, what you said earlier in the show, that GB News didn't call it out, because Nana did the job for us.
Well, I think GB News' headline on its website was Nigel Farage snubbed for US ambassador, so apparently that was the line. But look, I mean, it is correct that it was the wrong thing to do, but the overwhelming wisdom was that it was the right thing to do. And the other people that said that, like Michael Gove, for example, they said that precisely because of his links. And so I don't say this to loosely defend Keir Starmer, but to say that what does that tell us about the Westminster attitude and the media malaise, that it was deemed acceptable, even useful by so many people?
John, because, you know, you're from America, if the accent wasn't a giveaway. What's the impact of the Epstein files? Because this is not just an American phenomenon now; it is global. What's the impact having over there at the moment?
It's been absolutely crazy. I mean, we've seen multiple things precede and delay the release of the Epstein files. I mean, we've seen Venezuela. We've seen $9 billion at least smuggled in Somali daycare centers, the learning centers. We've seen so much financial embezzlement. We're all just so fed up. And Americans have really been chomping at the bit since December 20th, when Trump said he was going to release the files. He didn't. He postponed them. Now we're getting them in a watered-down version. Certain things are blacked out, information that would be vital to our decision-making as being informed political civilians. And that's a big problem. That's a really big problem, especially when all of this money that we're paying for is being converted and coerced through who knows what to go to who knows who, and then it all just blows up in somebody's face around the world about now.
Yeah, indeed it does. Jack, bringing it back to Britain here, the ripple effects of Jeffrey Epstein are really being felt now in Britain. It could eliminate a prime minister. It will be the highest profile casualty, politically speaking, of this entire thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's finally, after all of Starmer's unpopularity, all the policies that he's rode back and forth on. It'll be funny again if the Epstein files was the final thing that took him out. But just on the whole Mandelson decision to begin with, I mean, I'm pushing 30, so literally almost for the entirety of my life, it was known that Peter Mandelson was the Prince of Darkness. He was scandal struck way back in the day, even without the Epstein things. Surely, how could not Keir Starmer have foreseen that some scandal of some sort would likely to come out again about Peter Mandelson? And it has, and it could take his entire government down.
Yeah, it certainly could. Listen, I've got more front pages to bring you very, very shortly. Stay with me, because you're going to want to see some of the front lines of The Telegraph. This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
I take it as a huge compliment that people remember it. I mean, let's be honest. How many times do people actually remember something you have done on television? And people remember that. But I take it as a huge compliment because, let's face it, Morecambe and Wise were loved. They are probably two of the greatest comics that we have ever produced in this country. And their legacy is that even, I think Eric died in 1984 when I was working in America. And so we're talking about, over 40 years ago. There are at least two generations of young people who now watch them on television, who laugh because they think they are funny. You know, they left us that legacy of what it is like to be a good comic. And I had the pleasure of working with them on that. How many people can say, well, you know, people will remember a particular thing you did in your career as a television broadcaster? And the fact that people did love them, I take as, you know, when people say to me, what was it like to work with Eric and Ern? They want to know, because I'm that vicarious link with them still, because there aren't too many people around still that can say they did work with them. So I mean, yes, of course I've got, you know, in 60 years of working in television, there are lots of other things that I've done, but I'm always, and that people remember me for reading the news. They remember us for all sorts of things, and it's a compliment always.
And you read in the news, that all comes together, starts in the 1970s, which to me was the greatest time in broadcasting. I think it started to dip off slightly after that. The 70s, I think, they were
your heyday.
I just think everything, and I think it had a lot to do with what was attainable to us as viewers, which was very little. We lived in a world that was divorced from the world of TV, and it was magical.
GB News, the People's Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Oh dear, the front pages are a bloodbath for the Prime Minister. The Sunday Telegraph, let's look at that one. The Deputy Prime Minister is shoving the knife into the Prime Minister's back on the front page of the Sunday Telegraph. Lammy, I warned Starmer about Mandelson. Well, we did show a clip a little bit earlier, which I might play for you again, that just contradicts that slightly, but, you know, maybe he can get away with this thing. He's, you know, he's part of the cabinet and all that rubbish. Look at this front page. The Observer. The relegation battle. Keir Starmer is got that is a sourpuss face if I've ever seen one. That is a picture of a man who knows his time is coming to an end in politics, isn't it? He looks utterly defeated. Is that Pat McFadden? I can see that. It looks like Pat McFadden. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong Pat McFadden, the union boss. Anyway, wrong Pat perhaps. Sunday Times. Pay off tens of thousands for Mandelson. What a disaster that is. Got my panel back in the room with me. I think we should just stick here with the front page of the Observer, because it's absolutely damning. PM pressure to replace number 10 team. Donors tell Starmer time is running out. Gordon Brown, the former Prime Minister of the country after Tony Blair, unheeded warnings. Jack, disastrous.
It really is. As I was saying, I think there's definitely 3 Muppets on the front page of The Observer here. You know, Starmer, I think Starmer realises it's now completely over for him. I think when you have more left-wing outlets, you know, people, you know, who back your party, saying it's over, you're done, it's time for you to go, that is when the alarm bell should really be ringing for any Prime Minister. When your side says, you know, the knife, you know, the knives are going straight into your back and also your front, I guess now. So I think Starmer's done at this point. But again, it's just funny that this is the last final nail in the coffin for him. But you know, who will take over if he goes? That's the question. You know, they've been perhaps being handed a poison chalice, extremely unpopular government to begin with. So who would even want the job?
The current problem is that there's not an obvious candidate. Yes, we've heard from Rayner and Streeting, but Streeting was quite, his links to Mandelson, that's a bit of a concern. Rayner's still wrapped up with HMRC trying to repay the tax that she didn't pay. And so I'm not quite sure there's an obvious candidate yet. Yeah. I think what will probably happen is that Morgan will go quite quickly. There's some suggestions that he might cling on until the Gorton and Denton by-election, but I think actually it's, that's...
And of course the big beast Andy Burnham who would potentially take him out, blocked from the by-election.
I think they've sort of given up on Andy Burnham because there's no way that he can be an MP to challenge Starmer.
Well, he's certainly out of the running. It seems to me Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, who of course had very close connections to Peter Mandelson, also going to be out of the running now. He looked devastated in footage I saw him in the other day. He looked like his whole career had collapsed, probably because it has, really. And now we've got the Deputy Prime Minister stabbing the Prime Minister in the back on the front page of the Telegraph. More will come. Angela Rayner's. So basically what we're seeing here is people outlining their position. They all know, the Cabinet know he's done. They are now gunning for the Prime Minister openly in the press. This is absolutely devastating. The Prime Minister will be seriously considering his position this weekend if he's not forced out by next week. It could. I do think we could be looking as early as next week.
Starmer's allies are trying to brief that, if you change leader now, we'll have to hold a general election to sort of scare off the Labour MPs because they would just lose their job.
Yeah.
But if that happens, I think there are some jitters in Reform HQ, by the way.
Yeah.
If Starmer
everywhere.
goes, are they ready for a general election this year?
I don't think many parties will be, but listen, I'm going to bring you this story next. Front page of the Telegraph. Home Office tried to silence advisor over Islamism. How much worse can it be? I'll see you in just a moment.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, there's more rain to come, especially across eastern Scotland tonight. Showers easing elsewhere, and that will allow a few mist and fog patches to start Sunday morning. So low pressure is still dominating our weather. The wind's coming up more from a south and southeasterly direction. So the rain across Northern Ireland, Northern England will continue to push its way northwards, coming into much of Scotland. We have a yellow Met Office rain warning in force again for eastern part of Scotland, so could see some disruption and some flooding. To the south of that, any clear skies. We may even see some mist and fog patches across the southeast of England and across Northern Ireland. Otherwise, a generally frost-free, mild start to Sunday. But a wet Sunday to come across much of Scotland, even pushing into western areas, but most persistent rain first thing is going to be across eastern areas, across Northern Ireland to start Sunday morning, quite murky with some low cloud, mist and fog. A similar picture for the rest of England and Wales. There could be some brightness just coming through first thing on Sunday. For Sunday as a whole, though, it does look to be generally drier than Saturday. There will be some breaks in the cloud to give it some glimpses of some sunshine, but otherwise later on in the afternoon we'll start to see showers progressing in from the west. So across Devon and Cornwall into Wales, we'll see some heavy showers, possibly with some thunder, longer spells of rain persisting across Scotland. Otherwise, it's still generally rather mild, highs of up to 9 or 11 degrees. A messy picture as we go into Monday, a lot of cloud around, perhaps quite murky to start. Further spells of rain pushing their way northwards into Scotland, and then again, areas that do not need any more wet rainfall, it is going to be turning wet in the west, drier in the east with some sunshine. The unsettled theme is still here to stay, but perhaps temperatures just dropping later.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude